postponing because of COVID.
Did you do it in person or online?
Pardon?
Did he do it in person or online?
I think he told me it was online.
Yes.
Online.
Yes, it was, right? Yes. Zeus just confirmed it.
Okay.
That's excellent.
Oh,
So-
congratulations.
Well, we are at 7:30,
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
so I think we are
Yeah.
streaming.
Yeah. It's got a nice office building, this firm overlooking right at the tip of Manhattan, overlooking the wharf where the Staten Island ferry docks.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very
So I think we're
nice.
going to start our Havdalah Together program, and then afterwards we can schmooze a little more because there are people who are
Yeah.
joining us now on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Zoom and maybe our website. So
Welcome, everyone.
welcome, everyone. I think we'll sing Shabbat Shalom as we end Shabbat, and then we'll go into Havdalah. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Umevorach. Shabbat Shalom. Umevorach. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
So just as this week's Parsha, the one that's just ending, says, Vayehi or, let there be light, and there was. We begin a new week by creating light.
So we
If
sing
you have your
together.
Havdalah candle, we invite you to light your candle. And we invite you to turn down your lights or off your lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la la, ya la la ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 ya la la, ya la la ya la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Hey la 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 la, ya la la ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladim. Bimhera veyamenu yavo elenu im Mashiach ben David, im Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Hamavdil ben Kodesh lechol, Chatotenu yimchol, Zarenu v'chaspenu yarbe kechol, V'hakochavim balayla, Shavua tov, 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 Shavua tov. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness, joy, reign, and joy increase.
Shavua Tov, everyone.
Shavua Tov. Nice to see everyone.
Always love that service. So
I do
That's a
too.
beautiful.
It's a beautiful service. I was late because I was entering the Rosh Chodesh numbers. Oops.
well, that won't work tonight.
No, it'll work tomorrow.
It will work tomorrow night. Yes, it will. So this month until November 7th or so, the lifelong learning theme is Sukkot Shalom, which is a shelter of peace. So that could be a place, that could be a person, that could be something you create for yourself. So I have a story about that tonight. And this story, like so many stories, begins with once upon a time. So once upon a time, there was a king and a queen, and they had a son who, as you would imagine, was a prince. And this prince was adored by his parents. In fact, it's no exaggeration to say that the prince was his parents' most cherished possession. The king and the queen doted on the prince, giving him every opportunity that they possibly could, with the hope and expectation that he would grow up to become a great king. Well, one day a strange illness came over the prince. He didn't have a fever. He didn't have a headache. In fact, nothing hurt. But the prince took off all his clothes. He squatted down and he began to act, like a rooster. The prince squawked all over the palace. He flapped his arms. It was clear to everyone who laid eyes on him that the prince truly believed he was a rooster. In fact, the prince stopped speaking in a language that anyone could understand. He just crowed. Oh, yes, he was a rooster, all right. And his eating habits changed. The prince ate only corn. And he ate it, he pecked at it, only off the floor. The prince absolutely refused to sit at the table. He would sit only under the table. Naturally, the king and queen were, extremely concerned. They called all the best doctors in their kingdom. They called in all the best doctors in the neighboring lands, but nothing that the doctors said or did worked. The prince still acted like a rooster. The king and queen turned to their magicians and to the oracles and to the healers. Still, nothing changed. The rooster prince continued to flap his arms, crow, cock-a-doodle, eat corn from the floor, and hop around. Sometimes on the top of chairs, sometimes on the top of the table, sometimes on the roof. One day, a wise man came to the palace. I would like to try to cure the prince, said the man. What are your medicines? What is your technique? How are you going to do this? The king demanded to know. He was so skeptical because he had already called in every expert and no one had been able to help the rooster prince. I have my own ways, said the wise man. All I ask is that you give me 7 days alone with your son. The king agreed, albeit reluctantly, since he thought he had already tried everything. Well, the next day, the wise man came to see the prince. As usual, the prince was naked and he was squawking and strutting around like a rooster under the table. The first thing the wise man did was take off his clothes. Then he jumped under the table and sat down opposite the prince. The prince looked at the stranger for a long time. Who are you? And what are you doing here? Crowed the prince. In his best rooster voice, the wise man said, Yeah, I am a rooster. Can't you tell? Oh, said the prince, I'm a rooster too. Welcome. The two acknowledged each other in a way that made the prince believe he had found a friend. Similarly, the wise man believed he had captured the prince's attention. Thus, the rooster prince and the wise man spent the next few days this way. The wise man would arrive at the palace and strip off his clothes. Then he would climb beneath the table to join the rooster prince. Together, the two friends would peck at the corn on the floor. After a few days, the wise man got out from under the table. But then the rooster prince had become so fond of his new friend that he had begun to follow the man everywhere. So the rooster prince also emerged from under the table. The wise man started to walk around. At first, he crouched down like a rooster, but slowly as the days progressed, the wise man stood a little straighter until one day he stood upright. So too did the rooster prince. The two friends still hopped around the palace together, but gradually they were looking less like roosters and more like human beings. One day, the wise man put on a shirt and then a pair of pants. What are you doing? Asked the prince. Roosters don't get dressed. Of course not, said the wise man. But I was a little chilly, so I decided to put on some clothes. I assure you that even if I wear clothes, you can still be a rooster. The Rooster Prince was a wee bit skeptical, but he was confident that he could trust his new friends, so he put on a shirt as well. And then he put on a pair of pants. Near the end of the week, the wise man sat at the table and ate some corn. The prince sat next to his friend. The wise man called for the servants to bring him a meal. The servants brought out silverware and glasses of wine. They also brought out beautiful plates heaped with food. The prince and the wise man began to eat the delicious food in the proper manner. Not like roosters, but like people. Soon they had consumed the entire meal. The Rooster Prince was very happy. He even crowed, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" The next night, the wise man said to the Rooster Prince, "You know, I'm really tired. I'm going to sleep in a bed." And again, the wise man assured the prince that such behavior was all right. One could be a good rooster, a real rooster, and still sleep in a bed. So the Rooster Prince, who had been sleeping under the table alongside the corn, went back to sleeping in his bed. The wise man took yet another step. He began to discuss life with the prince. "Wait a minute," said the prince. "Roosters don't have to think. They don't have to wonder about the mysteries of life and debate the big questions of the universe. Roosters are just roosters. They are fed and they are cared for, and they don't have any worries." "You might be right," said the wise man. "But then again, what if roosters do care about these things? It doesn't mean you can't be a good rooster if you think about these questions and wonder what life is all about. After all, you're still a rooster. You're just thinking about things." The prince mulled over the wise man's words and decided that he was probably right. The prince began to talk with the wise man about life. On the seventh day, the wise man said goodbye to the prince. As he was about to leave, the wise man turned back to the prince. "Remember, my friend," he said, "roosters are sometimes slaughtered. So I should think that you might want to start pretending that you are a human prince. And as a human prince, you can be wise, generous, and gentle, and you can help others. I'm not telling you what to do, but think about it. That's all I have to say." From that day on, the prince ate like a prince, and he talked like a prince. He walked like a prince, and he went on to become a great and compassionate king. And no one except the prince ever knew the truth. He was a rooster.
Very nice story.
Good story.
Great story.
Thank you.
So we want to wish everybody a Shavua Tov. And Susan, I know you have a lot of programs coming up in the next week. Maybe you'd like to, before we go off of the live stream, you want to explain some of the things coming up, starting with Romamu?
Do have many things coming up. So tomorrow morning, we obviously have Romamu first thing in the morning. Then at 2:00 tomorrow, we have the Inextinguishable Symphony, which we are co-hosting with Herc and Boswell Book Company. And we are very excited to hear that story, which we are hearing of Martin Goldsmith. And then at 7:00 tomorrow night, we have Rosh Chodesh. And then Tuesday.
For the women, right?
For the women, yes. Rosh Chodesh for anyone who identifies as female, 18 years old and older. And then Tuesday, we have Women's Torah study. This Thursday at 12:30, we have Food for Our Soul, which is a Parshat HaShavua, a weekly Torah study. So we will this week be studying Parshat Noach. So we will get to learn about Noah and the flood and the Arky, and all the animals that came on by Tuesday. And so we will have that. And then Friday night services and Saturday morning study
Friday,
mission again.
6:15 and Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Yes. So lots of wonderful things coming
Yeah.
up. And then, of course, we have the Brotherhood Free Challah coming up in a couple of weeks, and that you need to reserve it by the 22nd,
I think so. Yeah.
22nd, and then to pick it up on the
30th.
23rd
30th.
and pick it up on the 30th. There we go.
Right.
And those are all the big events coming up, I think, for the week. And we wish the cantor a wonderful 2 weeks of vacation.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I will
Oh,
be around
enjoy.
I'll be
Go
around for
Gesint.
Shabbat. I will be back for next Friday night, and
Go
will-
Gesint and Kim Gesint.
thank you. So
And we
yes,
hope that
I'll-
you
I'll be
come back
I'll be next
restored
Friday
and
night, but I'll be
renewed.
off for a little bit. And so yes, thank you all very much. We're going to leave the live stream now, but we'll still stay on for Zoom for a little bit. So Shavua Tov to everybody, and have a wonderful week.
You have